All right. Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world right now. Thank you very much for joining me today. My name is Lior Samfiru. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but you get used to it. So I'm one of the founding partners of Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. I'm the employment lawyer, and my firm, we are the biggest employee side firm in Canada. So you're now listening and watching me talk about employment law. This is a live, interactive Q&A session where you get to ask questions about employment law, and I get to see those questions, read them, and answer them for you. So if you're wondering about workplace rights, if you have a problem with your job, with your boss, with an ultimatum given to you, if you want to understand if what your company is doing is legal, if any of that is in any way applicable to you, you can ask the question right now. I'll see it, I'll read it, I'll answer it. And when you turn off your computer, you'll be a lot smarter, a lot more informed about your legal rights. That's the name of the game. That's why we are here today, to make sure that you get answers. It's can be a very confusing world out there, and trying to get answers to your question. You go to Google and you look something up. Almost always you get wrong information. The reason I started doing TV shows and radio shows all those years ago is because I saw how much misinformation there's online about employment law. Well, right here, you don't have to worry about that. Here you can get answers to your questions. Make sure that you're informed and educated. So ask your question. Don't be bashful. And of course, when you ask your question and I get to answer it, you'll be helping others who may have the exact same issue. So be the second voice on this little stream of ours here and ask your question. Now, before I start answering questions, let me give you some additional information. If you want to connect with me off air, if you actually want to have a private discussion, myself and my team, so that we can actually help you resolve your workplace issue, very easy. You just go to employmentlawyer.ca. You see that on the screen right now, employmentlawyer.ca. Phone number is there, email address is there. You can reach out there. You can fill out a form if you prefer. Every piece of information that you need is there too, so you can connect and reach out, and we can have that private discussion. So take advantage of that. It's always your one-stop shop for anything employment law. It's employmentlawyer.ca. But right now, I am live here for you, with you, answering your questions. So don't be bashful. Type it on the screen, hit enter. I'll read it and I'll answer it. And don't wait till the end of the session. Last week, I remember when I was doing the session, just as I was hanging up, 3 questions popped up and I didn't get to answer them. Don't let that happen to you. Ask your questions right now. I'm going to start answering. That's what you're here to do, to get questions answered. So I'm going to start right now. In the meantime, as you're listening to me, type in your question as well. First question today from Ronald. I've been placed on a leave due to an ongoing harassment investigation. It's been almost 2 months. How long is this supposed to take? Well, first of all, if you're placed on a leave because of an investigation, that has to be a paid leave, okay? A paid leave. Not allowed to put you on an unpaid leave, because unpaid leave is a punishment. And if they're investigating whether you should be punished. So they can't punish you while they're investigating if you should be punished. Makes no sense. So if you're put on a leave, it has to be a paid leave. But your question is, how long can this leave even last? Well, 2 months is too long. So you can contact the company and find out what's happening. If there's a good reason they're giving you as to why it's taking longer, then maybe. But beyond that, if they're not going to get back to you, if they're not going to give you a good reason, that fact you've been on the leave for so long can be considered potentially a constructive dismissal. By putting you on a leave, by kind of forgetting about you and making it so it's now embarrassing because you've been off for so long, it's as if potentially they've terminated your employment, and you can consider that to be done. Constructive dismissal. I get my severance now. So follow up with them. If you don't get a satisfactory answer, Ronald, call me, okay? Let's connect, and I'll help you pursue a constructive dismissal. So for you, Ronald, for anyone, if you want to connect with me, I gave you that address. I'll give it to you again, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, phone number, email address, it's all there. Great question, Ronald. I'm going to continue answering right now. See how easy it is, right? For those joining me, my name is Lior Samfiru, employment lawyer, and I'm here to answer questions live about employment law and workplace rights. All right, next question from Corey. Corey says, hi, Lior. What is your opinion on an employers including wording that restricts severance pay in the employment contracts? Is it worth the paper it's printed on? So it really does depend how good a job they do. So what our courts have said is that an employer can try to limit severance, but if they want to do that, that employment agreement, that term has to be drafted in a very specific way. It has to say certain things in a certain sequence. And if it doesn't do all those things right, it's not going to be enforceable. It's not actually going to limit severance. The good news for employees is that a lot of employers kind of screw it up. They don't do it right. So they try to limit severance, but they don't do it properly. And because of that, the employee still gets full severance. I say that happens in probably 75% of the time when employers try to limit severance. So why am I telling you this? Well, I'm telling you this because even if you signed an employment agreement that tries to limit your severance, if you lost your job, don't assume that employment agreement does in fact limit you. Call me, call my team, let us see it, and we can review it and tell you right away if it does limit your entitlements or it does not. Okay, but beyond that, the other point I'll leave you with is if you're accepting a job and there's a term in that employment agreement that you're about to sign that tries to limit future severance, be mindful of that. Be very wary, because if it does do it properly, it could cost you tens of thousands of dollars at some point. Okay, so you want to be aware of that and potentially negotiate that term out of there. Corey, hopefully that answers your question. Happy to take any follow-up questions from you or from anyone. So thank you for that. Great question. Continuing to answer questions, me, Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, you out there with your employment law questions, so ask them. Next question today from Isar. Isar is watching us on YouTube, and he says, is it better to get a lump sum severance or as if you had a regular interval paycheck? Can you still apply for EI with either payment methods? So first of all, with respect to EI, you can only get EI once the money runs out. So if they pay you 8 months as a lump sum payment, well, you're not going to get EI until 8 months run out, right? Because you're getting paid for 8 months, whether it's a lump sum or salary continuance. Now, in terms of which one is better, I prefer the lump sum, and here's why. So let's say you're owed 15 months severance. I'd rather get my money now, because if the company's going to pay me over 15 months, what happens if the company, I don't know, goes bankrupt in 6 months? Well, I'm not going to get paid. I'd rather have my money now, not worry about what's going to happen to the company, right? So usually we can negotiate lump sums because that certainty of getting your money now is better. That said, this is the most important thing I'm going to say, Isar, is that it doesn't matter what you were offered, lump sum or salary continuance. The key is to understand that whatever the offer is, it's probably inadequate, whether or not it's a lump sum or continuance. Maybe they offered you 6 months. Chances are it should be 12 months. In the vast majority of cases, when someone is offered severance, they're owed a lot more than what they've been offered. So what you have to do, if you lost your job, you're staring at that severance package. Doesn't matter if it's lump sum, salary continuance. Doesn't matter if you think it's good or bad. Call us. In almost every case, 90%, okay, 90% of cases, you're owed much, much more. So let's talk about that, and let's figure out how much you're actually owed. Hopefully, Isar, that answers the question. Again, follow-up questions are always, always welcome. So those joining me right now, hey, my name is Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. You can find us across Ontario, BC, and Alberta. And I'm here live right now for you, with you, answering questions about employment law. So ask your questions right now. I'll still have time to read them and answer them. Just like Teresa. Teresa asks, I'm 65 years old and my boss keeps hinting at a possible retirement. I have no plans to retire anytime soon. Can I be forced into this? Absolutely not. You cannot be forced to retire whether you're 65 or 95. We don't have mandatory retirement in this province, or frankly anywhere in Canada. It doesn't exist. So you can work as long as you want. It's up to you. No one else has a say. Your company doesn't have a say about you retiring. They have no say. They don't have the ability to force you to retire. In fact, even telling you should retire, encouraging you to retire, heck, even asking you questions about retirement is inappropriate. That could be considered age discrimination. So no. So you can tell your employer, not retiring, I'll let you know if I ever change my mind, and that's it. That's all you need to do. If they do anything to you, if they try to force you to retire, if they try to convince you, if they make your life difficult because you're not retiring, call me right away, okay? the law is going to come down really hard on an employer that does that. We don't have any sense of humor or any leeway when it comes to those things. You should not be treated differently in any way because of your age, right? So hopefully, Teresa, that helps. If any problems, you know what to do. Same with you at home. Employmentlawyer.ca, again, employmentlawyer.ca, to connect with me, my team, and to get us working for you to solve any workplace problem that you're dealing with. All right, fantastic questions today, guys. Really, really excellent questions. So keep them coming. You see me, I see you. Well, I don't see you, I see your questions. So keep those coming so that I can answer them. Dennis has our next question. Dennis says, I was employed as a contractor / delivery driver for 3 years. I was recently informed my contract was terminated. Am I owed anything? I was employed through a contract. Absolutely. It's actually very simple. If you had a job and you lost that job, you're owed severance. It's that simple. I don't know that I can make it any more clear. I'll say it again. If you had a job and you lost it, you're owed severance. Doesn't matter if you were hired through a contract, through an agency, full-time, part-time, doesn't matter. If you had a job and lost it, you are owed severance. And again, I don't know your age, Dennis, but after 3 years as a driver, you could be looking at as much as 6 months of severance, depending on your age. It could be 3 months if you're very young, or it could be as much as 6 months if you're a bit older. So that's what's at stake for you here. So if you're wondering, do I get severance? Ask yourself this: did I have a job and lose it? If the answer is yes, you're owed severance. It's as simple as that. There's really not much more to the analysis than that. Now, this is a good time to tell you about how do you find out about how much severance you're owed. So I've told you how to figure out if you're owed severance. Well, let's figure out how much severance you're owed. Anyone can do that. To figure out how much severance you're owed, couldn't be simpler. You grab your smartphone, you grab your tablet, your desktop, your laptop, doesn't matter, and you go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Okay, that address is right on the screen right now, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. When you go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, you'll see, first thing there, our severance calculator tool. Ta-da! There you go. That's how you find out how much you're owed. Use our severance calculator tool. It's free. It's anonymous, completely, no names, no phone numbers. You don't have to put anything there. You answer some questions, it's going to tell you how much severance you're owed. Maybe it's 8 months, maybe it's 18 months, maybe it's 24 months, something else. Check it out. Again, free and anonymous. And I almost guarantee you that whatever you think you may be owed is actually a lot less than what the real number is. So check out pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, use the severance calculator tool. And if you want to, only if you do, there's a button there that you can use to contact me as well directly. At pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. All right, but right now I'm live with you answering your questions. A few more questions just came in. I'm going to answer them right now. So ask yours as well. Still have plenty of time. Raphael has our next question. He says, we've recently undergone some cuts, and there's a lot of work that keeps falling on my shoulders. I was recently voluntold to take on more responsibilities. Can I refuse to do this or let go if I refuse? So yes, you can refuse to take on a lot more responsibilities. No problem. The question is, can the company let you go? Well, they can, right? Because a company can let you go pretty much for any reason as long as they pay you severance. So they can say, yeah, you know what? We're not happy with you because you didn't take on more responsibilities, so we're going to let you go. They can do that, but they're going to have to pay you your full severance. What they cannot do is use this as a basis not to pay you severance. No, they can't. So company can let you go for any reason, so they can let you go for this reason as well, but severance would have to be paid. So ultimately, you have to decide what's better. Are you better off refusing the extra responsibilities and maybe risking losing your job with severance? Or are you better off doing those extra responsibilities? That is a personal decision, not a legal decision. But what I will say is if you lose your job, just call me. I'll make sure you get the severance that you're owed. The company may try to get away with without paying you severance. Not going to happen. That's where you connect with me and my team through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Thanks for that question, Raphael. Excellent question. Pauline on YouTube has our next question. The regional municipality of Peel is dissolving. Are employees entitled to severance even if they are absorbed into the three cities, Mississauga, Brampton, or Caledon? So no. If you continue working as part of this restructuring, then your seniority carries through and you're not entitled to severance, okay? If in fact you lose your job, then yes, you're entitled to severance. And the usual severance rules would apply in that situation. So it's a question of, did you lose your job? If you lost your job, absolutely, severance is yours. If not, there's a role for you continuing to work. Your seniority carries through, which means if a year from now they let you go, they're going to have to pay you severance that accounts for the time that you had with the municipality of Peel. So that's how that works, Pauline. If any questions, follow-up questions, problems, if you do lose your job, you know what to do. Myself, my team, we're here for you. Employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Great question as always. So thank you for that. For those that are joining us, you still have time. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, and I am here to answer your questions about employment law, workplace rights, your job, your compensation, your boss, the rights that you have at work, the issues that you may be facing on your job. Ask those questions right now. It's good to watch and learn. It's even better to get questions answered. All right, next question today comes from Helen, who's also joining us from YouTube. Helen says, inappropriate performance improvement plan after reporting to the ethical officer frequently interfered with my work and caused stress. Am I eligible for workers' compensation after termination due to bullying? Likely not. It's almost difficult. It's very difficult to get workers' compensation for mental distress. I'll give you an example. The people that often would get workers' compensation is, say, if you're a police officer and you see someone getting shot in front of you, you may be able to get workers' compensation if that impacted you. And usually, no. But in your situation, Helen, if you lose your job, yeah, you're owed severance. And depending how long you've been there, that could be 24 months pay. But it's more than that. If they let you go in bad faith, you could be owed additional compensation because of your company's conduct. Now, I'm not sure right now what's going on there with the ethical officer, etc. But ultimately, if you lose your job, you're owed severance. And if that termination was in bad faith, if you were being punished, let's say, because you were doing the right thing, yeah, you may be owed additional compensation, additional damages, bad faith damages, maybe punitive damages. So bottom line is you want to connect with us as soon as possible, Helen. Employmentlawyer.ca is the way to do that. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, and we can find out the details and tell you exactly what you're owed and how to go about resolving this issue. Again, another fantastic question. So right now, hey, let's get more questions asked and more questions answered. Like Marjorie here, who says, is my employer obligated to find me a new job if my medical restrictions are making my current position impossible? So your employer has to make all efforts to accommodate you. So if you can no longer do your old job, you need to do something else, maybe modified duties, modified hours, maybe you need some flexibility to work from home. As long as you have a doctor saying those things, that you need those things, your employer has to make all efforts to make it happen. Even if it's difficult, they still have to do it. Even if it costs them some money, they have to do it. An employer that says, no, we don't want to, it's too much of a pain, no, that's a human rights violation, illegal. Now, of course, if the restrictions that you have are so extreme that it's going to be incredibly hard for the company to do what they need to do, they may not have to go too far. They may not have to go to a point where it's costing them tens of thousands of dollars. But the fact that it's costing them some money, the fact that it's difficult, that alone is not enough. They have to accommodate you. So Marjorie, if your employer won't accommodate you, they're not supporting you, they're not going to give you responsibilities like your doctor is saying that you should be getting, you know what to do, right? You reach out to myself and my team. Our human rights laws can be enforced. And to reach me, of course, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Now, as I wait for the next round of questions, I've already mentioned pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, and I mentioned that our severance calculator tool is there. It allows you to find out how much severance you're owed free and anonymously. But that's not the only thing that you can do on pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. What we try to do is take the main issues that as an employment lawyer I deal with and try to give you that information, to give you answers, to give you an analysis of your situation. So I'll give you an example. If you want to know if the company has just cause to let you go, well, we have a tool for that at pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. If you want to know if your matter is considered constructive dismissal, we have a tool for that. Again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. If you want to know if your matter is considered a human rights violation, tool for that as well. I think you get the idea. It's exactly what you need to do if you're facing a workplace issue. It's like having your own employment lawyer with you at all time. That's why we created that name, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, because if you have a smartphone in your pocket, you also have an employment lawyer in your pocket. So check out pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. All right, more questions just came in. Great timing. I'm going to continue answering. We have about 10 minutes or so you still have time to ask questions, right? You still have time to get answers. So do it now. Don't wait too long, okay? Because we'll run out of time eventually. I'm Lior Samfiru with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. I'm going to get back to work right now and answer more questions. Peter has our next question. I was given 4 months notice of my termination and told they would try and help me find a new position. Due to their help, they said they would not give me severance. Is this legal? No, it's not, except that 4 months notice that they gave you that your job is coming to an end does count towards your severance. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you owed 6 months severance, but they give you 4 months notice. That 4 months notice counts towards the 6 months, meaning they have to make up the difference and still pay you an extra 2 months severance. But the fact that they are helping you find another job is irrelevant. Now, you may be owed 24 months severance, depending on your age, your position, the length of your employment. So if they give you 4 months, they still owe you 20 months. So Peter, very simple. Here's what you do. There's no other option. You call me, call my team, go to employmentlawyer.ca, phone numbers there, email addresses there, and let's connect. Let me assess what you're owed. It's not up to the company to decide if they want to pay severance. It's not up to them to decide if they should be paying severance. That's why we have employment laws. Those decisions have already been made by the law. They have to pay it. It's not an option. It's not a nice to have. It's not discretionary. They have to pay it. So you call me, employmentlawyer.ca, to get all the info, and let's get to work. All right, more questions. Next one from YouTube again. We're popular on YouTube. This is from Rebel. If me or someone in my workplace is being subject to an investigation and they ask me questions, am I obligated to answer or can I refuse? So generally speaking, you cannot be forced to answer. But here's the thing. If you have information that could be helpful to show that someone is being mistreated in the workplace. So if you know that Joe is bullying someone in the workplace or harassing someone, and you don't say that information, there could be a penalty for you because you're not helping the employer create a healthy workplace. It's going to be very extreme to punish you in that situation. Usually you can say no, but if the company finds out eventually that you had very important information, there could be some repercussions. Very unlikely, but I would generally encourage you to participate, because what we're trying to do is, what you're trying to do if you participate is you're trying to make this workplace better. You're trying to get rid of problems and make it healthier, better workplace. And I think that's everyone's job. So I think you should participate. And no one can punish you for participating. No one can hold it against you. No one can fire you for that. All right. So that's my advice to you, Rebel. But ultimately, no, you probably cannot be forced. Great question. Really good. I don't know that I've been asked that in a long time. So I think that's a very important question. Marlena says, this is great information. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. I'm happy that you find it helpful and useful. And, that's why we are here. And, I will say this, kind of halfway through 2023 right now. So I have the first half of the year to reflect on. I can tell you this, that number one, we are going into a situation where more people are going to lose their jobs. I've been seeing that already. Economy was great. Unemployment was low for the past year and a half or so. It's changing. I see that just based on the numbers of people calling me. So be aware of that. Number two is I've seen severance package be even worse than usual. So severance packages that our companies offer have never been good. Okay, that's why we have 50 lawyers across Canada. But what I've seen is they're even worse than usual. So if someone usually is owed 12 months severance, and in the past they were offered 8 months, now that person is offered 5 months. Well, the good news is it's still easy to resolve. So if you lost your job, you know what to do. That's why I'm here. That's why we have our team of lawyers. Just go to employmentlawyer.ca. Let us do what we do and make sure you get your severance. All right, Corey has our next question. Corey says, the ESA minimums restrict severance pay up until 5 years. Prior to 5 years, am I entitled to anything? Absolutely. What the ESA says is irrelevant because your source of rights for severance doesn't come from the ESA. It comes from our common law. The only time the Employment Standards Act is relevant is if you sign an employment agreement that limits you to the employment standards. So don't worry about it. Even if you work for a few months, you are owed a few months severance potentially. It's extremely common for someone that have worked for 6 months, they lose their job, and they could be owed 3, 4, even 6 months of severance. 5 years is irrelevant. The company's payroll, company size, irrelevant. All right. It's very simple, Corey. If you had a job and you lost that job, you're owed severance. Maybe you worked for a month, maybe you worked for 55 years. Doesn't matter. If you had a job, you lost it, you are owed severance. Simple as that. That's all. All right. Next question right now is from Stella. She says, I was let go 2 weeks after I returned from maternity leave. They told me it was due to restructuring, but the timing seems a bit off to me. No kidding. It is off. And it does look like you were let go because of your maternity leave, and that's illegal. You cannot be let go because you took maternity leave or parental leave. It's illegal. Company has to bring you back. Same job, same pay, same everything. And there's really no exceptions to that. Now, if this was part of a big restructuring, let's say 20 people were let go and you're one of the 20, well, maybe that's okay because maybe it has nothing to do with your parental leave. But if you're let go 2 weeks after leave, no one else is let go, and they're saying, oh, it's unrelated, I call nonsense. No, I don't believe that for a second. So what we potentially are looking at here is wrongful dismissal. We're looking potentially at a human rights violation. We're looking at an employment standards violation potentially. So it's very wrong, very illegal. Very important to remember. If you're a mother or a father that are taking parental leave, if your employer does anything to you other than bring you back to the same job, that's not right. That's not legal. And there's going to be potentially some very significant repercussions. Okay. So that's why, that's why I give my contact information so you can reach out to me through employmentlawyer.ca. Guys, I think I'm caught up on question. Pauline just sent me a thank you. You're very welcome. I'm glad you find this helpful. Thank you very much for joining me. And for you as well, everyone that watched this today, that participated, that asked questions, that listened, thank you so much for doing that. It really means a lot to me that you want to learn about employment law, that I've had the opportunity to educate you a bit on those important things. I'll be back as usual. My team will be back. But if you have an issue, don't wait till the next time we're on, okay? Go right now and reach us through employmentlawyer.ca. Let's connect. We're here. We have a whole team waiting to talk to you, to help you to resolve these issues. We know what we're doing. We're very, very good at it. So if you have a workplace issue, you couldn't be in better hands. Just go to employmentlawyer.ca. For those joining again, thank you. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru, Tumarkin LLP. I'll be back here before too long, but you know what to do, employmentlawyer.ca. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy. Drink a lot of water. Put some sunscreen on, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.